Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Moving Spotlight Podcast. We are here to help you take creative control of your artistic careers. I'm here with my main man,
Corbin Coyle. Hey, everyone.
Hello. Good morning. We are up early for our guest today,
so
which is very exciting. He's on a second cup of coffee, but we're still up early. Corbin, before we get to our secret guest, I just want to ask you a question. If you were given $10,000 and you had to spend it in one day, you know, your options are clothes, food, or charity. Just kidding. I just threw charity in there because you have to say that.
Come on.
No, because you know, then everyone's obligated to say to the orphanage, which they don't even exist. What you had to spend the $10,000? What would you spend it on?
So you're gonna float me that 10,000, or what's the deal here?
For sure. I just Cash Apped it to you. Now that we're sponsored by Cash App.
Yeah, perfect.
No, not yet.
Okay, that's a good. Usually I would say food, but right now I'm in that very unique space where I hate all my clothes, so I just want to go out and just burn them all and start over. So I think I would just go on a huge spending spree, spend it all. I don't know where I'd go. I'm not really good with brands, so that's probably why I hate all my clothes. But I just go out and just start buying everything I can, and then just feel good about myself. I kind of want to ask my sister to help me out too, because she's a young teen, and so she's like trying to. So she's just like got all the cool stuff, and I'm like, hey, Lacey, please, please make me cool again.
So you're gonna dress like you're 15 or 16.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, like ripped jeans and like, you know.
Hold on to that as long as you can. That's very Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That guy's still dressing.
Beanie to the side.
Oh my God. Beanie to the side. I love that. Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was thinking, you know, when I booked my first commercial and actually made a little bit of money, I really wanted to buy a suit. So I like strolled into the the Beverly Center.
Oh yeah.
And went to the Hugo Boss store and bought a suit from Hugo Boss, which I still have.
Oh, wow, really?
Still fits, folks. Still fits. I got that thing tailored, spent way too much for a suit, but I was so proud of just like being able to like purchase that. That's I remember I was because I'd never bought a suit.
I love a good fitting suit. Like you look like James Bond, and it's the best.
Yeah, it is the best. So, but if I was getting the 10,000, what would I do with it? I would probably, oh my gosh. Oh man, that's a challenging question.
If you say charity.
You know what? I would give it to the
Coalition
for Clean Air. The Coalition for Clean Air, because I want clean air for our children.
Oh, you're so responsible.
What would I do with it? Yeah, I would probably just go on an eating, spending, shopping, just gorge. I just gorge. Yeah, I'd make that day last. Well, I want to get to our guest and see if he has any thoughts on this before we get to other things in the entertainment business. I want to welcome to the show actor and career coach DaJuan Johnson. DaJuan, I saw you nodding and thinking. I know you've got a good answer for this.
So much. I didn't want to break up the rapport there. Listen, I'm just going to be completely honest. I would give it to the orphanage.
What an honest fella. Sorry, Corbin, you're the only one that spent it on yourself.
Wow.
Corbin. You're the only one.
I would ask the teens in there if they could help me dress.
There you go. Now you're getting it.
Then, full circle.
I would just do all of it for that. Yeah. So, no, I don't know what I would do with I think right now I would just go to a beach, take the $10,000,
just get out.
Literally, I dream of just like quiet, like all the time. You know what I mean? Having two kids, I am often hiding in bathrooms eating. So,
oh my God. It is.
Anybody wants to be a parent? That's true.
That's your sanctuary. It's so true. We only have two doors in this house. One's for my son's room and one's the bathroom. So I get it. The bathroom is the one thing I can lock. You know what I mean? It's so true.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. How old are your kids?
My kids are 10 and 11.
10 and 11, okay.
We just moved into this new house, and it has a lot of barn doors, and everybody loves the barn door feel, but one of the barn doors is the bathroom. So my sons are always like, is anybody in here? I'm like, I'm in here. Slide open, and it's like always, I'm in here. And they're like, well, now that it's open, so Dad. And I'm like, ah.
It's like, here's Johnny at all times. Just bust down.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I just want some privacy. Yeah. My wife is like that, DaJuan, where she's just like, she'll be in the shower and I'll knock. I'll be like, hey, I need to know. She's like, this is my private time. You can't shout through the door even. Like, I just don't want anyone's presence. This is like, solo, lock it off. So yeah, I totally get that. DaJuan, I want to jump back a little bit.
Okay.
I want to start with you and acting. How did you originally get your start in acting? Where did that the bug come from? Where are you from? Kind of blending all that. Yeah.
I love this question because honestly, I love talking about myself. So
well, you're gonna get
everybody grab coffee and let's jump in. I'm from Miami, and Miami by way of Chicago. I moved anyway, just Miami. I'll tell you that story another time. And I in 8th grade, I did my first play called The Wizard of Oz. Although if my mom were on this podcast, which I did a podcast with my parents, and she would say I was causing a scene from when I was very young, right? And so my first stage thing was Wizard of Oz. And I remember thinking that this is where it's at. Like, people are going to applaud for you when you're on stage and you get to like be these characters. I was the Scarecrow. I was excited. And then that was actually 7th grade. And in 8th grade, I auditioned for The Bad Seed and did not get anything.
Oh no.
Like, it was,
that cuts deep.
It was like, I was like the lead, and then it just nothing. And then I didn't really act because I went to an international baccalaureate school in Miami. And then when I went to college for criminology. Ooh. And so my mom like wanted me to be a lawyer, and so I went there and I did that. And I mean, I started that, and then I saw the theater department and I snuck in. And there's this weird thing that happens when you go to college. They let you at 18 make decisions for yourself. And so what I did was I made the decision to like just get into the theater program. And when my mom, like, between breaks, so I would go back to school, and she was like, "How's criminology?" "So good." So good. Like, I'm learning, like there are thieves and there are laws, and like it was, and
the law's got to catch those thieves. Right? It's crazy, Mom. It's crazy.
And I did not tell her for a while. Yeah. And then if you listen to that podcast with my parents on it, they were like, "We sent you to school to be a lawyer," and I was just like, "I can play one."
I look good in a suit.
I look good in a suit. By the way, circle back to your suit conversation. Just go to Macy's, get it online. Everybody can get a nice tailored suit for $100.
Really?
Macy's.com, and it'll be fitted. Go get your set measure, your measurements somewhere, and then you can get it online. And everybody should have like a blue, a black, and a gray. Those are the suits that all of us, male presenting individuals have, and it's there for $99. So back to school. And, so I did that here. I did that in University of Florida for the 4 years. And then I decided to try my way out here, like in Los Angeles. So like every, theater person, I drove out this way, and then my mom was yelling at me as I was driving. And so I stopped in Colorado and did grad school on my way.
What? That's hilarious.
I was like, "I'm going to LA. I'm out of here." She's like, "You're never going to make it. Like, you got to like go to school and finish up." And so I did grad school for 2 years, and then I came out here, and then I was like, I'm ready at like that time. And then I've been out in Los Angeles ever since then. And so we're not going to do math on your podcast. So
no, we don't need to.
We don't do
math.
I don't. No. I'm an actor. We're not going to do math. So.
Well, I love that, DaJuan. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, my major at Northwestern was German, so I get having a very different career. Yeah. And then my parents got lucky because my sister's a doctor. So I'm like, "Hey, you got that. I can be an artist because you got the professional, right?" So
just you're good. You're
good. You're good. So yeah, exactly. So you made the trek out here, and then did you find DaJuan, and I know it wasn't that long ago, it was relatively recently. When you first got out here, what was the challenges, or how did you kind of immerse yourself? Like, did you jump into classes? Did you do short films? Were you on Backstage West, which used to be a physical copy? What were you? Did you have a Thomas guide? I mean, that's where I'm talking about. I'm talking about Thomas guides. DaJuan, you remember Thomas guides?
I don't remember some Thomas guides because I feel like these are trick questions you're trying to teach me. And so what is a Thomas guide? You say. What is this you speak of?
Corbin, a Thomas guide. DaJuan Corbin's too young too.
I mean,
he's from LA.
Are you too young?
A Thomas guy was the book you used to have.
I know what a Thomas guy is.
I know you do, DaJuan, but I don't think Corbin really does.
I don't think
Corbin
I do.
might not. Oh, you don't?
I really don't think I do.
So back in the day, before we all had these handy cell phones, you'd get a Thomas guy, which was like the size of like like a dictionary, and the idea, it was like super thick. And wherever you were traveling, Corbin, you had to like look it up at like D4. You had to like find the quadrants and find that page, and then you're driving with that in your lap, and you're trying to figure out like on these tiny little like where to turn and stuff. That was how you figured out where to go. It was
The Google
very
Maps
challenging.
physical.
It was physical maps back in the day.
We had it hard. Okay.
We had it hard, Corbin.
difficult.
We had it hard. Yeah.
So you guys couldn't tweet anything? I don't understand.
There was no tweeting. There was no GPS. So
None of that. There was none of that.
So sorry, jumping back to it, DaJuan, and then did you jump into class? Like, how did you kind of start getting momentum?
Well, I feel like your question is loaded in the sense that you think that I came out here and I didn't just become a star. You assume that I had to, that I wasn't already amazing, but I'll play this game.
Question rescinded. Question rescinded.
Leading the witness, Your Honor.
I do have to say real quick, one time there was an email chain going on and someone apologized to someone else, and then it turned out that person didn't need to apologize. And in the email, that person wrote another one. They said, "Apology rescinded," which was one of my favorite emails to ever read. So they apologized, and when they found out they weren't in the wrong, they're like, "I'm taking that back. Like, I don't even want to leave it out there." So anyway.
We apologize too much already as people. I got out here, and it's a very interesting story because I found myself in a black box theater. I got jumped right into class, I asked my friends. I didn't know anybody, but my friends, I had come out with a couple from college who had already moved out here, I should say. And they were at this black box theater. And I remember we were sitting in there and it was like dimmer lights and everybody was like crying because it was like cathartic experiences happening. And we were just like, yes. And like, I just remember thinking like, I have found my people. But then like a year later, like we're still crying over somebody having breakdowns up there and nobody has headshots. Nobody has managers. Nobody has like any of the stuff. And I was like, what are we just going to cry? Oh, like, it wasn't happening. And so, that was one of those things that I had to make a decision of. When you come out to Los Angeles, yes, find your tribe, but also find people that are doing what you want to be doing. Mm-hmm. Also find the studios that are having the conversations that you want to be having. And you're kind of like, well, what are those? Look for people first that are working. That's where it comes down to. It's great, the feel good part of it, but maybe you can find both. Find somewhere where the studio and people are working and also you feel supported and good, right? I didn't find that on my second studio. I found people that were working, but I found a very abusive acting teacher, extremely abusive acting teacher that almost made me want to quit. That almost made me think that what I was doing in my craft, in my mind, it just really still to this day. I mean, we're like beep years later, and it's like
we beeped that out on our end.
Professional.
Professional.
Thank you guys. No, and it still rocks me a little bit to think about that younger DaJuan, right? Yeah. That younger kid that was out here that was excited about acting. But when you find someone, I worked with Stan Kirsch, who is now passed away, but I worked with him. He was one of my mentors, and he kind of took me under his wing after that, and he was just kind of like, here's what we're going to do. And I knew that he was amazing at that point, but I just didn't know the impact he was going to have on my life, from that point on. So that's a story that's running, right? That's happening. Also, I'm in class. I found this guy who, for whatever reason, took a liking to me and took me under his wing, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then on this other end, I was also trying to find agents and managers and trying to figure out this business side of things as well, which we were not taught in college. So those things were going like at this, and I'm trying to like hold this career and also cry on stage in these, places. So.
I love that, DaJuan. Yeah, I studied with Stan too. I loved Stan when he was with Leslie Kahn. Yeah, I studied with Stan and it was great. I was with him for a while and made some great friends. And
did we cross paths? Because
I'm trying to think. I don't think we crossed paths there, but timeline wise, I mean, it was a little bit ago for me being there too. So we might have it might have been around the same time. But what you were
TA? I became his TA, and I
you did?
Yeah, okay. I was his TA while he was there.
Yeah,
and then I became I went and worked for him, and I was his right hand teacher for his studio.
At his studio. Oh, okay. So yeah. So I was with Stan before that,
right?
Bleep years ago. So, but Stan was awesome, and I'm I'm a huge fan of him. So I love hearing that. I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah,
and I love teachers like that. It's interesting. One is you kind of said that toxic teacher you had. I really feel like a lot of that to me is like dinosaur teaching. Like it's just like it's going extinct. I see that more and more, and I think it's lovely because I like to say it's like, I could still hold you to really high standards without being a jerk about it. You know what I mean? I can still hold you to professional level standards, with what you're talking about. And the other thing is, I think it's interesting, DaJuan, that idea that you're talking about where you get in a class and maybe the teacher's like, screw casting directors, don't worry about them. And the agency, the industry is like, it's all BS. And you're like, well, that's what the industry I'm trying to get into. Like, that's like, I love I'm 100% on board with what you're saying, because I think it is, you have to be aware of both of those. They can work together. They don't have to be exclusive, and sometimes you learn a lot about one, but not the other. And they do need to kind of, blend together. So then when you were part of this, were you finding for you, were you using kind of your network to get auditions? Were you submitting yourself? Did you get, an agent? I mean, I know you were a superstar at this point, but how were you kind of continuing that?
At this point, so Stan and I, like I said, worked through. It's a very emotional topic for me, so I won't cry, but I usually do because, again, we were very, very close. But he worked with me. Stan worked with me, and I think I don't know how I got my first agent. I think I did a workshop. And we were working, and I bring Stan back up because we worked on my first 3 bookings, network television bookings together, right? And he was there in it. And my major booking for Bosch, he helped with that, those things. And so what did I do on that? I did a lot of workshops. At that time, workshops were popular, and I'm very pro-choice on workshops. Like, do them, don't do them. I just don't believe that actors, that we're these people that are like, everybody's going to take advantage of. Yeah, they will take advantage of you if you think that way. But if you are like, assessing the layout of the land, and you're kind of like, no, I don't want to, this doesn't feel right. My gut doesn't feel right. Sorry. You're trying to give me an agent for $3,000 or whatever all that. I don't believe that we're these vessels of like, everybody's trying to take advantage of us. I don't believe that. And so I went to workshops and I did it, and I got my first agent there. I met my first manager at the bar that I was working at. It was kind of like the luck there that was happening, and, awesome, paired with a great teacher and a great mentor. We just put those two together, and I just started booking. I started booking extremely like the network TV shows. And then I went off and thought I was going to do something with that horrible teacher that we're not going to talk
about. Where did you find that ability to trust your instincts? Because a lot of people don't have that inherently. Was it your mentor, or was like who was kind of guiding you to be like, just follow that, but don't let people take advantage of you? Because a lot of people fall in between those,
Yeah. To trust myself. This is a daily conversation.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I think everybody believes that, like, when you trust yourself, sometimes that you're not having that conversation of doubt, right? Or you're not having that conversation of, what am I doing? It's just like always going to be like, I'm going 100% in this way. And so, I think one of the things that Stan did do for me, help me, is to fortify a lot of that. Like, I can still take the lay of the land, but no, this is where I'm going. This is what's happening. And also a lot of that is, Corbin, to be completely honest, was just like being young and stupid.
Of course. Yeah. Taking risks
to really, there's a different way I take risks now, than when I was that younger. When you're first out in one of these places, your hustle is different.
Yeah.
It is so different. Like, I was I was at these things, networking and doing that stuff. Now I'm like, I know it's Tuesday and I should go network.
Yeah, but I'm a little tired. I might take a 45-minute nap. Is anyone? No one's around.
Anybody want a nappy right now?
The boys are at school. I'm just gonna lay down, take a little nappy, and then feel better. So that's my new networking.
I literally had this thing. I don't know. I got an invitation to this We Audition. You guys know we audition thing. Yep. They have an invitation to the thing they had a couple nights ago, and I was looking and I was like, this looks like it's a lot of fun. It's on a rooftop. I would love a good rooftop, and it's like come to network and impress. And I was like, that sounds so much work. I'm just gonna like sit here. And so Corbin, to really circle back to your question is, I think at that time we were just surrounded around a lot of energy, people. Your tribe matters, everyone. Your tribe matters. And I was surrounded around a lot of people now, not that first two, but I was surrounded a lot of people who were hungry, who were going in like different directions. You see people working. And so I want to work like Chris is working. Oh, Sam is working too. And so you start to like get into that pool, that energy. And then you just start doing it too. And you're not really thinking of the doubt, or the non-trusting yourself. So
the other thing I was thinking with what you're saying about that idea of kind of going for it, and especially when you have all that energy, I think it's also really great, whether it's with someone else or by yourself, to take a little like pause to kind of self-reflect and write some things down, write goals down. You know what I mean? I'm sure DaJuan, or I'm guessing, you might be a fan, but I feel like when you're talking about seeing those other people, like that idea of like putting it on paper, I had that with two of my good buddies where we all kind of just like wrote down what, simple goals that we wanted to accomplish. And I've done that multiple times, but I just remember specifically with two good buddies who were also actors from an acting class. And it was such a great way to like see it and say, okay, now how are we working towards these goals, but just like the act of getting it out of our brain and putting it down and sharing it with each other kind of helped us push each other. Right.
Well, there's science behind when you write stuff down, right? When you're actually writing and not just having it swirling around in your head, like you get it down and see it. It's not so big. You can really attack it. You can bite size it. You can really work on a goal like a different way. So I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all, John, but one of the things I would say is that back before I even started Think Bigger coaching, like, being a career coach, I had a group. I'm a gatherer. I'm a gatherer, and I would always gather a group of friends. We would meet at this hour. I'm always been maybe earlier at a coffee shop at the top of my street on Laurel and Sunset, and we would do what I called at that time a power group. Right. And my thought behind that was I would get 4 or 5 of my friends. We meet every 2 weeks and we'd help each other. What are your goals in the next 2 weeks that you're going to be getting done? Right. Like, and we would do the exact same thing you're talking about. And I would just be like, great. Those people who are like, let's say more than a decade, that must have been 20 years ago almost, when I was just getting out of
beep was late. Beep was late, DaJuan. Sorry. That one we missed. We missed that one. It
was going to happen at some point. But, those people who I sat with, I want to say that 98% of them were still friends. Like it was big, but they are all working. They're all still in the business. They are all on TV shows. And I think when you find people like that in this industry, I'll say 2 things about it. Stick with them. Right? Stick with them. And number 2, do not be afraid to create what you need. I think we're all looking to be a part of something, right? But don't forget you can create that part of something and then have what you need. Does that make sense? Did I say that correctly? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I needed a community. I knew exactly what I needed at that point, and I went out and got it. And that's how I created that power group. That was a long tangent.
No,
it was great. So good.
It was so good. Yeah, I'm something that I always struggle with when it comes to like an artistic career is these goal settings that you're kind of talking about. Like what is an achievable goal? Because we all want to be Leonardo DiCaprio, like we want to have these things that are like these stretch goals, if you even want to put it as that. So how do you sit down with those people? How do you find a goal that seems attainable? Is there some sort of action that's like something I can do in a week, or is it like getting an agent? Like, how do you know when it's an artistic endeavor where it's very specific to you and kind of there's no real path?
Yeah, right. There isn't a lot of paths to what we do, right? And well, that's not true. Let me back that up. Let me. What is it? Rescind that.
Rescind that.
Apology rescinded. Apology rescinded.
Let me take that comment rescinded back. And so what I want to say is there are so many paths to our goals, to our dreams, right? And there are, if we want to be Leonardo, we can be our own. You can be your own Corbin. There are like 75,000 ways to get there. The thing is, we don't know which way is going to be the quickest. We don't know which way is going to be the best way. Let's just say that. The way I quantify that is we have to start understanding that. So these artistic goals, to be a series regular, right? To be a series, I hear that often with people. I want to be a series regular, or I want to make my living off of only acting, right? So those things are something that are absolutely out of our control. What we can do though, is create the environment to thrive in. And that's what I try to do the most on. So you create the environment to thrive in. So I ask myself at all times, it's right here on my desk, sorry, my little thing. It just says like, what would series regular DaJuan do? Right. So if I am already creating that environment, I'm doing everything where my scripts, I'm working on my auditions, I'm working on, having the best possible reps, the best possible mental situation going on with me. I am creating that environment to thrive in. Unlike when I was a little bit younger, where I would be out till 4 o'clock in the morning, drinking and, doing all that's not creating the environment. So when we have those artistic things like being series regulars, being Leonardo DiCaprio, stuff like that, we can keep moving in that direction and doing things to help that goal vision for life, I call it, come true. But honestly, that part is almost out of our control if they pick us, right? If they pick us.
Yeah, I like that.
Was that helpful?
Yes, very. Yeah.
That was great. I love that, creating the environment. I think that's great. And the other thing I was thinking about, DaJuan, a lot of times it's impossible to see forward, obviously, but when you look back, you can put together the pieces. And I think that's what you're kind of building towards with what you're talking about, which is like, oh, now I can see, I stopped going out till 4 a.m. I started to do this. I started to find this group of people that were all working. I started to find this class or this group. I started to do this, and so you can look back and kind of say, okay, these were the bricks, or the stepping stones that led to it, because there is a lot of stuff that's a bit out of our control, and that can be challenging. That can be challenging when it's not a career, a direct path where it's like, okay, I do this and I become this and I become, vice president, I become senior, there's an obvious ladder or something.
Yeah. I had to look it up because I have it on my Trello board, but it's when you think at a different level, you move at a different level than you expect at a different level. And I really like that as like a way to kind of exactly what you're saying.
Can you repeat that again?
When you think at a different level, you move at a different level than you expect at a different level.
Come on, Corbin.
Great. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Corbin, when did I say that, Corbin?
I think,
when did I say that?
Honestly,
was that recently?
I think you did actually say it. I honestly think it was from you.
No, stop. I was fishing. I was fishing.
I think
you're
reading a quote.
I think it was you.
No, I don't think I was.
DaJuan, I want to add something real quick, if you don't mind.
Go.
Part. I think I love what you're saying about sometimes we need to look back, but I think what happens about looking back, especially as actors, is we look back and we keep facing that way, right? And the thing is, we're not going that way. So you can look back to take a quick oh yeah, I did do that, but turn back around and go this way. I like to liken it to the GPS system in our car, or Thomas Guide if you're a little bit younger. The GPS in our car, right? And it's like when we set Siri to go to, let's say, the Met Gala, because that's big right now, right? They go to the Met Gala. What it does is it might not give us a direct route. If we hit a caution thing or a blockade, it'll reroute us to another way. And if we have to go around or whatever, we're still going to get to our goal, right? We keep our eye on our goal. But what we keep doing, I think sometimes as actors, as creatives, is we look back, but what about this? Or we look this way, looking at other people, and no time does the GPS send you back home, right? Send you back home. Think about it. If I'm going back to the GPS all the time, going back home every time I start, then of course I'm going to think this thing is not working. Of course I'm going to think my career is crap, right? Because it's like I keep going back to the starting place. That's not where we need to be pinging to. We need to keep our eye on where we're going and how to get there. Oh, crap. I just hit this roadblock. All right. How do I reroute to get to the same place? don't keep looking back. You don't have a problem with your goal. You have a problem with where your eyes and where your focus keeps going to. That's what I believe there. So we have to learn how to quantify our experience, quantify our journey this way. Yeah, you know what? I have been doing great. So when we look back real quick, we're taking that to be like, oh, you know what? I did work with Brad Pitt before. That's going to keep me going. You know what I mean? Or I did do these other things and move this way to your journey. I just got really excited and animated.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I just got really excited and animated. I don't know where that.
I love it. I love working with Brad Pitt.
No, but see how like in the middle of my GPS story, I dropped Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
No, DaJuan, I think that's great.
It does.
Yeah, it totally does.
Well,
it totally does. And I think that's it. Because there's so many kind of roller coaster waves of what we're doing, it's always great to find, how do you re-energize? How do you recharge? How do you stay focused? How do you, keep it moving forward? I want to, speaking of forward, I want to just kind of move a bit to like, we already talked about it, but present day stuff, which is how important are self-tapes right now, DaJuan?
They're the most important thing out there right now. It's what I have pivoted my business for this period in helping actors book off of self-tapes. I like to say that it is irrelevant. It is irrelevant to my actor friends out there, to my brothers, to my sisters, to everybody in non-binary in between. It is irrelevant if you were better in the room. Please stop saying that, because what that does is it automatically takes you back to this place of you're not going to be better on your tape, or you're not booking
on camera.
Right.
DaJuan, I just heard that yesterday. I was on set yesterday. I just heard what you just said. Isn't that crazy? Wow, man, you're nailing it. You're nailing it. Someone just said that, so I get what you're saying. Yeah,
it's just relevant, and I get it. And it's like the yesteryears before we could, I get it. And it's not. Stop, because you're automatically mentally telling yourself, and our brain is so powerful, it is seeking evidence at every turn to affirm what you are telling it. And if you are telling it that you are better in the room and not on tape, guess what you are putting on tape, right? Not you're better. And then all of a sudden you're like, I never book off tape. And now why is this not working? Because you keep telling yourself it's not working. Yeah. Right. So that's number one, I think. But I think also what we do is we romanticize the room. We're over here romanticizing the room of like when we got in there, we act like every time we got into the room, it was like, John, Corbin, oh my God, God, come on in. Are you? Oh God, that was great. Do it again. Do it again. That wasn't what happened in that room all the time. I get the exchange of energy, because what we're doing, we're in a business, we're in an industry, a profession about connection. Right. And so I'm connecting with you by seeing both of you. And that's where we are. I love it. That is true. But let's figure out how to do a better connecting, like work instead of maybe doing all your self-tapes virtual, maybe work in a self-tape studio, maybe get Corbin in his awesome room, like connect that way. But self-tapes, they're not going anywhere, honestly, anytime soon, fortunately or unfortunately. So all of the talk about it, it's irrelevant. And it kind of, what I like to say, it brings you down to the cult of average. The cult of average are all having this conversation, which I say is group actor thing. They're having this conversation about, remember when it was, no, I do remember, but guess what? I want to get on a Marvel show. I'm trying to be on a DC show. People are booking series regulars off of tape. That's the conversation I want to jump into, not remember when the room was happening.
Yeah, because
God damn, it gets back to your look back thing, DaJuan. You're fucking nailing it. Excuse me, beep that. Man, it's a good point. I know, but I think it's great. It's interesting holding on to something like that and what it does, and versus embracing, which I'm a big fan of embracing. It's like, well, this is, I always think just because it's been done a certain way for a long time doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. No. I think about that a lot with life and things, and so with the self tapes you're talking about. I feel like one of the posts we saw that I really enjoyed was if someone's traveling, because I think that's one of the cool things, and they have a self-tape. DaJuan, do you want to just kind of a little bit just share your advice? Because that's something that, that's kind of a cool thing now, is that you can be on a trip, whether you want to be a little bit stressed out about it, but at least you can not miss the opportunity. So what's kind of your advice when someo's traveling if they need to do a self-tape?
I think I want to be so one of the things inside Think Bigger Coaching that I, am known for is the mindset guy. right? Because I love working. That's when I was a teacher back with Stan, I saw what actors needed more than how to build or an arc or a scene. They needed the mindset and the inside stuff. So they call me the mindset guy. And so for that question, there's two parts of it. The first part of it is, gone are the days that we must believe that we have to stay put and miss all of our family's birthdays, our parents' like anniversaries or something like that. Remember, we would stay in town until I don't know if you're Corbin, but I would stay in town. Maybe you would stay in town until like December 24th. We'd fly out, to like on Christmas Day to get there for like Christmas Day to like the 1st. And we would miss so much because we had to get back. We were scared to leave town because we didn't want to miss an audition. I think those days are gone. Right. And so what we can do is travel with the setup. And I always like take a travel studio with you. And it literally, I don't have it out, but it can literally fit in a backpack. Mm-hmm. We have the ability now to put a small ring light, I have these things. This is like a little mic. If anybody's watching this and not listening to this, I have a little mic that you have your phones, which are powerful. All of that stuff can literally live in a bag. Right. In a backpack that we can throw on and we can go anywhere, backdrop and all that stuff like that. We can go anywhere and we can do that. I'm not saying live anywhere. I'm just saying don't miss any more vacations, right? For that. And so that's really my number one thing on that. But my number two thing is get out of town. And if you don't want to do it, don't do it. We have to believe and trust in abundance. In abundance that this audition will not be our last audition. We don't have to hold on to that anymore, but if you want to do it, do it. But if you don't want to do it, just say, I booked out with my family and I'm okay. Like I just went to the Redwood Forest for my kids' spring break and I got, a series regular audition while I was hiking in the Redwoods, but I had brought my stuff. Right. And I brought my stuff and I was like, I got 3 of them actually while I was on that trip. Book a trip, y'all.
That's when he gets busy. Always when he gets busy.
Book a trip, y'all. What really happened is I decided on that trip, I will do these auditions, but I will only do them if I can work on them after the kids and family went to bed. Right. I'm not going to miss this moment in this 3,000-year-old forest so that I can go do this audition. Right. And so, they went to bed. It was like 10:30. I was in the hotel lobby reading my lines, and shooting reels, as you probably saw, for that stuff. So those are my 2 big things I really think. Now, if I went to Mexico or something like that and I didn't want to do it, you cannot do it. And you can, I just think booking out, we don't have to worry about it anymore. We can be a little bit more accessible if we want to be.
I think there's some power in the no, saying if you're feeling like I need this time and this space. Yes. I do think, and I'm sure maybe you've had this happen where you tell your agent you're booked out and then they still send you something and you're like, why? I told you, and then you're like, well, maybe I will do it. But it is very like, I know what you're saying. I think there is that empowerment, which is great. DaJuan, I want to talk a little bit about your time on Bosch. So you were on Bosch for multiple seasons. How was that experience? Was that like just kind of auditioning for that, being on set, kind of, showing up to set over and over again? I think that's such a great experience for actors. You know what I mean? When you're not there just for the day or whatever, it's kind of a one-off. There's something really nice. I just want to chat a little bit about working on Bosch.
Yeah, so I did 7 seasons on Bosch. The whole entire, that's great. The entire run of it. I was on the pilot episode all the way to the last episode. So it was a fantastic run. And I think the really cool part about that story, people might have heard me tell it. I'll tell it, in an abridged version really quick, is that when Stan and I were working on that for the pilot, I remember I had come to a point in my career where this was like my 7th or 8th co-star. And I was like, I don't want to do co-stars anymore. I don't want to be that person that comes in and says, do you want fries with that, and leave. There's nothing wrong with that. By the way, I just wanted more with my career, right? Same thing like when I was doing extra work. I did like 1 show and I was like, not for me. You can say that in your career. This is not what I want to do, and be okay with it. And if anybody else wants to do it, that's okay. That's fine. And so the role was uniform officer number 1. Right. And I remember I was like, I don't want to do this. It doesn't have a name. I'm good. I've played cops before. I did it. And, my manager at the time, I think maybe Stan or somebody said like, why don't we try to get a name for you? And my manager, I went back to it and I said, can I get a name for this person? And it was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, great. I'll audition for it if we can get a name for it. And then I booked it and I was like, do we get a name for it? And they came back with Officer Rondell Pierce. And I have never met anybody named Rondell. And I was like, now they're effing with me.
Yeah,
like, I remember thinking like, oh, you're effing with me. And so that was the pilot episode. And I shot it, and I shot it with Titus, the number one on the call sheet. Yeah. And I remember this is the very important part. I went on set and I did not believe or know or understand the hierarchy of things. I went in there and tried to kill it. I was like, this is mine. I'm on this show too. And, I remember working with Titus and he was like, you're good. You're really good. And I was like, thank you. And I was like, I should be here too. And when they cut the episode, we saw it at the Soho House. They came up to me and they said, cutting your footage was so amazing. We'll be seeing more of you. And I was like, I hope so. I'm around if you need it. And, but I remember thinking in the back of my head, like, yeah, right, whatever. Like, this is what you say to people. And, that season I did 6 out of 10 episodes. They brought me back to recur 6 out of 10 episodes. I came back for a second season. The third season I got upped in the third season, and I was one of the regulars on that, top show guest, and then it just kept going, and I just did the whole thing, and it was fantastic to be a part of a show, to be a part of a series where, like you're saying, I have to think back. This is not Pierce wouldn't do this. Pierce wouldn't do this because of, remember in season 2 when I said this, like there was just through lines, and I was like, great, this is how we build these people and build these characters. And people were writing for me. They understood that I was the Boy Scout. DaJuan was that kind of guy. They put it into the story. It was everything you kind of dreamed about.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And so it technically started off as like a co-star, DaJuan, that just kept recurring. And then, oh my God, that's so, I had an opportunity to sit in a buddy of mine, Josh Bicel. He's written for a bunch of big shows, but I sat in on a writer's room, and it was interesting. The writers really are tapped into what the actors are capable of, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And in good and in good and bad ways, they know like, okay, this was more of a comedy, but what they can handle, what they can't. And so it's interesting you say that, because obviously when they saw your footage and what you did, they're like, this guy's we want more of him. And I think that's such a cool thing. And I think being on set, I always think work begets work. So, you got to figure out when you're ready to, maybe not do co-stars and stuff, but I just always feel like being on set is such a helpful thing, because you're meeting people, you're meeting the writers, you're meeting other actors, you're meeting the directors, and that just gives you momentum. I think momentum is such a big thing that can be hard. Like, how do you create it? I don't know. It's hard, but being on set can help that.
Yeah. And I want to be clear. Like, I don't want anybody out there like, we're not doing co-stars or I'm out of here. I just knew that I was booking them too easily. Like, right. And for your next step up, like we can say, like, they weren't seeing me for guest stars at this point. So I had to stop and just say, I don't want to do that for a while. And, since we're sharing, I think I went through about like 6 months to a year of very, very few auditions after that jump. Right. So when I said no co-stars, I jumped into a different pool. And then it was like nothing for a bit. And I was like, did I make the right decision? Hey, anybody got any co-stars for me?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Start to second guess that whole thing. But then I was like, no, this is where we wanted to go. And you have to trust yourself, right? You have going back to you, Corbin, you have to really, really trust yourself. And the last thing I want to share about Bosch is season 2. They upped me because of a nonverbal reaction that I had to a death on the show, right? And it was just, you're getting this information. We just want to pan in and see it. My partner on the show had died, and old partner. And they said after that take, they were like, why aren't we using this guy more? You need to see more of him. And I think sometimes what we do is we go on set and we think if we aren't the loudest, if we aren't the one that has the most lines, if we aren't the ones that are the focus, then it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. That told me they're watching our every moves on set. Yeah. To be professional, to go in there and do your job and leave. Yeah. That's it.
All that crying in your first acting class paid off.
That was Grey's Anatomy. All that stuff paid off on Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, for sure.
I cried for 5 weeks on that show, right? And like literally was crying for 5 weeks, and so that was when that paid off.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
You okay, John? You okay?
Tears and tears. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was thinking about this. Do you have any any fun like audition stories that you can think of, or anything like on set that's happened like that's I mean, obviously crying on set for a bunch. I just was curious if you had anything that sticks out to you that
we're talking about crying.
Yeah.
We're talking about crying.
Yeah.
I will never I wasn't always this amazing. I wasn't always this amazing at crying. And I think, to be completely honest, I don't think anybody should go out there and have kids because of this. But I think when I started having kids, my emotional reservoir got deeper. And like, it just feels like I'm always either on the verge of crying or a nervous breakdown. So it's like, I just kind of like straddle that line all the time. But before, when I went into an audition room, this is really when I was first starting on LA, and I could not cry. I remember it was Criminal Minds. It was a Criminal Minds. It was like an intense, like, you got to like witness cry scene or something I was doing. I don't remember that part. But I had heard in acting class that if you can't cry, you can use a tear stick. And so I had gone to whatever this place was on Hollywood Boulevard, gotten a tear stick. And I was like, all right, I'm going to rub it on my hand. I'm going to like do this thing where it's like, you know, and then it's going to make me like produce the things. But what they don't tell you is it's like vapor rub, and it kind of like gets you, and you got to like do this extra blinking thing. And so I'm trying to cry in there. It did not happen in there. And whatever, the audition was whatever. I'm walking out of the audition room and I'm like, wow, I bombed that. And like, I'm already feeling bad about that. To make matters worse, the casting director comes out after me. He's like, DaJuan, you dropped this. The tear stick had fallen out of my pocket. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, thank you. All right. I'll see you later.
Oh, that's so painful.
I just put it on my hand before I went in because that's what you were supposed to.
Yes.
And it did not. And so I didn't book that one, but I did. I did go on to book that show, but I never forget that. I can't believe I just thought of that one.
DaJuan, I was when you said that, the story I haven't told was there was a short film. I think Corbin knows this story, and I was at the callback where they were doing chemistry, and it was a Nazi guard that falls in love with like a Jewish prisoner. That was the story. Yeah. And I'm in the lobby with the person.
Feel good story.
But I'm in the lobby partnered up with this guy. We're waiting, and the door opens for the two people that were there before us. And I swear the door opens. The director and producer are standing up and they're clapping and they're like, bravo, that was brave acting. Bravo. And like, I've never seen a producer and director stand up, like a standing ovation. And then they walk out, and then we walked in there and the audition just tear. It was like there was no, like, it just totally, I mean, I was new to, like, it totally psyched me out.
Where were you supposed to go after that? Like, I mean,
there was nowhere to go. I've never, and since it's brave acting. I had to be braver, but I mean, it was like, oh my gosh. So sometimes, oh my gosh, the stuff we try, or the stuff we, trying to figure out. DaJuan, what advice would you give a younger you, right? Like if you had just come out here, just driven out here, stopped in Colorado for a couple of years, like you said, then made it out here. What advice would you, give a younger actor or, yourself?
Go home.
Don't stay unless you have to.
Stay in the, I think, speaking on that, I would just say two things. I would be like, find your tribe quicker, right? Find your tribe quicker, because it will make or break those lonely moments. Just find your tribe quicker. I think I wanted to move home so often because I wasn't in with somebody, a group faster, and know when it's not a group that you need to be with, and you've outgrown a group too, right? Like, know when you've outgrown a group. And I would just add on to that is also go home a lot more. Go home and see family a lot more than you think you should. Go home and leave this all behind, and understand that this is an amazing, amazing career, but also you have an amazing, amazing family, if that works for you, that you can go back to and see them a little bit more. I think one of the things that the pandemic has done for me personally is help me understand that there are other things outside of acting that are really important to me, and I think we had to do that because our business stopped. Yeah. And so it helped show that to me, I should say.
Yeah.
Traveling, I feel like, was like one of those for me where I was just like, I'll get there when I get there, and now all I think about is going anywhere else, and it's
and it's okay, right? And it's okay. Like some people want to just stay, some people don't. I feel like we can go, and it'll make us better actors.
Yes,
that's the cool thing, that it'll make us better actors. We won't be jaded as much. We won't, like, and we see it all the time when those people come back and like, I went to my thing and I was like, how did you do that?
Yeah, wow.
I want to go to there.
So what's the next challenge for DaJuan? What's the next in your mind? What's your next kind of stepping stone, or the next challenge? Would you say?
I think this is a great question. I think one of the big challenges is what I have believed about the business is always changing. But what I believed of, like, I was coming off of 7 seasons of a show. I had just done an Emmy campaign performance on Grey's Anatomy that they did. I was booking. I thought that when the door to season 7 closed and we were done with season 7, that everybody would be out there with a pen and paper, like, come to my show next, right? There, everybody would be like, sign, let's do this. Like, well, DaJuan, we love you. Oh my God. And that has not happened. So that has played a bit of a truth on my psyche, like a bomb on my psyche. And so I think the next part of what's the challenge for DaJuan is really just getting right mentally again, getting back in the space of, am I falling in love with this career again? Yeah. Is this the journey? Is this the new path? And so I've been really just focusing on that mental space now more than anything, because this is a very interesting career, right? Like, it's like, you don't feel accomplished unless you're working.
Yeah.
Which is very weird. So it's like, I've erased 7 seasons on a show, which people are like, maybe or maybe not ever get to do. Right. Let's be honest. And I'm just saying, but that doesn't feel like an accomplishment anymore because I'm not doing it. So when you ask that about it in our final moments, and you ask that, I should have left it on a positive like that. But I want to be real. I believe in being transparent with actors. And I think that's one of the problems is, people think we jump to show to show to show, or we jump to things. And I know in my heart, something is coming. Yes. I believe that. But this part where I have to believe a lot harder right now.
Yes.
Is really intense. It's really
intense. I think that's a really good, and it's not negative. I mean, I remember when I had a film released in Vietnam, which was amazing, and it felt like a superstar over there. And then I came back and I was like, low man on the casting totem pole, and I was like, all right, back to getting coffee and answering. And it is part of what is our business. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I know you have a podcast to transition a little bit, so I'm kind of curious, like, why did you want to start it, and what's your favorite part about having a podcast?
Yeah.
I just want to be in competition with you guys.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Literally, I started it to be, what? No, what really happened is I believe that mindset is important, but I also believe that success leaves clues. And so when I was talking to a lot of actors in season 4 of Bosch, I had this thought. The thought was, what are these actors doing that I might not be doing? Right. And I started talking to each of the series regulars on the show, the top 4 on the show. And I thought that this could be a great conversation for other actors to hear as well. Like, what are you doing? Oh, you're doing audiobooks on top of directing, on top of producing stuff. Oh, you're writing stuff. Oh, you got your manager and agent doing that. And so I decided to start to use my connections with all the people I've met along the way, have those same conversations, but on, lives, and hopefully inspire people to take chances or to be inspired to do some of the things in their career that I didn't do back then. So
I like that.
That's my whole podcast.
Yeah. Success leaves clues. I love that. Yeah.
Success. Yeah. And what's the name of it, DaJuan?
It's called the Think Bigger Actors podcast.
Correct.
Not very original. I just, I have Think Bigger Coaching, Think Bigger Actors podcast. I just
Great. So is that a great way for people to find you? If they Google Think Bigger Actors podcast, they can Google that to find you.
Yeah. Think Bigger Actors podcast or Think Bigger Coaching or anything, my name or Think Bigger Coaching on Instagram. Yeah.
Great. Oh, I love that. I saw on there, I think you interviewed Raymond Lee recently. Raymond, who's I worked with him in class a while ago. He's a great guy, and he's having a bunch of success.
Where?
At Berg Studios. He was there for just a little bit. But I know I saw he just got Quantum Leap, which is super exciting, and he's doing some big stuff. He's a Stan Connect.
So
he's a Stan. Oh, okay.
I was his TA.
Oh, okay.
We talk about it on the thing, and he is just amazing where he's been jumping and moving to as well.
Totally.
Such a small world.
Totally. Yeah, I love it. Well, DaJuan, before we let you go, we have one final thing we call your best bad acting. No, your kids aren't calling you.
Nope, nobody's calling you.
This is the best part. We've only missed this once, and we couldn't get that person back on. But I didn't forget with you, DaJuan. I didn't forget. All right, we've got a fun quote for you, DaJuan. It's you're probably going to recognize what it's from, and we want you to do your own take on it. We might give you a redirect. We may not. But if you take a look, it's just for fun. Have fun going over the top. You don't have to do an impression of the person who did it. Do you recognize it's in the chat. Do you recognize this?
No, I don't.
Okay. Corbin, do you want to tell them what it is?
There Will Be Blood. One of the final moments.
This is a little Daniel Day-Lewis. This is a little we've never done DDL before. So
Nobody's done DDL.
Nobody tries to do Meryl or DDL.
Yeah.
So
nobody touches this. We don't have 6 months to play Lincoln.
And go.
Right? It's like I don't. No. Okay, all right. Okay. I don't even know what's the it's like a. All right.
So, I'm just go for it. Yeah, exactly. Yep. I like this.
Here, if you have a milkshake and I have a milkshake and I have a straw, there it is. That's the straw. You see? Watch it. Now, my straw reaches across. Now. My straw reaches across the room and starts to drink your milkshake. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
I like the I drink it up.
Oh, DaJuan, that was good. Actually, that was good.
What is this? Now I got to go watch the show.
Now you got to watch it. He's talking to a younger, what's the actor's name? I'm blanking on his name, but I don't know. He's
threatening him.
He's threatening him, really.
Yeah.
So, Corbin, do you have a redirect for DaJuan?
I kind of want to see that a little bit more. I want to see you just really putting the knife in, you're interrogating somebody, like on many of those great shows you've been on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I can do that. That was my cold read.
Yeah, that was a cold read. Yeah.
Good.
No, you got this. Yeah.
You were good.
Felt
like a warm read. Lukewarm read.
Lukewarm.
Lukewarm. All right. Here. If you have a milkshake and I have a milkshake and I have a straw, there it is, the straw, you see? Watch it. Now watch my straw reaches across the room and starts to drink your milkshake. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
I love that it gets more intimate and evil as it goes along.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, DaJuan, I want to see. That's great. That's I don't know if we can beat that. That was good.
I feel like we're good.
No, we're not good. We got one more, DaJuan, because this is so much fun.
I make a lot of money.
We're having too much fun. The check's in the mail. Cash app. Okay, DaJuan, one more. What can you do? Some sort of fun accent or yes, something so fun. Good. I don't know. I can't think of anything specific right now, but let's do something.
I am the worst at accents.
That's as good.
This is it all. That's why it's better. I don't want to offend anybody.
Oh, okay. Could you do soap opera? What can we do here? Could you do soap opera? Yeah. Let's do soap opera.
Soap opera seems funny.
Oh, yeah, good. Let's do soap opera. Okay.
Getting ready.
Here. If you have a milkshake and I have a milkshake and I have a straw. There it is. That's the straw. You see, watch it. Now watch my straw. It reaches across the room. And I start to drink your milkshake. I drink it up. I drink the milkshake.
Oh God! With the light shining on you, so good.
That was amazing. Come on, that was amazing. Oh my God! Like the dramatic pause in the first sentence is definitely not in there. Yeah. You just added it. I like just the dramatic pause. We're like, we don't even know what you're saying yet. He's like, I'm already dramatic pausing.
I'm already
so good, so good. Oh my God. Well, DaJuan, this episode has been a pleasure. It's been all ours. You're so much knowledge and so much love and just so much. We can see how much you really care and the passion you've got, man. So please, if you get a chance, check out Check out his podcast, check out his coaching. It was really lovely having you on here, getting to know you. We really appreciate it. So thank you for your time, DaJuan.
No problem. No problem. I think, can I put your feet to the fire and just on your podcast,
ask
if you guys will consider coming on my podcast?
Of course.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Drum roll.
Drum roll.
Are we going to have to do your best bad acting?
Corbin's a yes. I got to check my calendar. I got some things. I'll get back to you. I'll get back now.
Get back to me.
I'll talk in third person. John is pretty busy. No, we would love to, DaJuan. I'm sure we can figure out a time and a space. That would be amazing. We'd love it. Thank you. But we wish you so much success. I'm sure, there's many more acting gigs, of course, and also people that you've inspired and are going to inspire. So thank you, man. Thank you for all that. Really
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Awesome. Have a great day. Thanks, DaJuan. Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for listening to another exciting episode of the Moving Spotlight podcast. DaJuan was awesome.
So
Corbin,
fun.
do you have any favorites that people should, episodes that people like if they haven't listened to yet?
One of my favorites that I keep going back to is Daniel Eskenazi. I mean, she has so many great things of inspiration as well as what to do in the room. She's just a great casting director. So if you get a chance, check out her episode. She just keeps dropping knowledge the whole time.
She's so good. And also check out my buddy Brian Holdman's episode.
Yep.
He was a writer producer on Pretty Little Liars. His episode isn't getting enough love, Corbin. We got to give that episode some love.
And he was great. He was such a smart guy.
He was so great. So check those out. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the
Moving Spotlight Podcast.